Hello everyone, I have a question for you. What causes fanaticism? When I say fanatics, I don't mean your typical, non-coercive fans, in the example of sports, authors, or musicians, like the concert goers in my thumbnail. When I say fanatics, I am referring to those people that are willing to cause harm to others, just to preserve their own ideals or beliefs, even at the cost of their own rights. Some examples that come to mind when I think of fanatics are the religious extremists, neo-Nazis, terrorists, and such. I ask this question because of what we're all seeing today in the States. I've never had such strong, passionate feelings towards anything. I enjoy the things I enjoy, have my own set of values and beliefs, but I'm puzzled as to how certain people feel such fervor for something that they take a simple opinion or constructive criticism as such an affront to their own identity that they're willing to incite violence. So, I did some research. First, we must define the term fanatics. Surprisingly, the definition and traits of fanaticism are not as clear-cut as I thought it would be. In An Introduction to the Philosophy of Fanaticism, Dr. Paul Kastafanas, professor of philosophy of Boston University, presents us with a historical summary of deviating beliefs among philosophers throughout the ages when it comes to fanaticism. Focusing on a more modern definition, Dr. K notes, quote, "Since the 1500s, fanaticism is a term used for those who combine a certain way of approaching their values with a tendency toward violent intolerance. Furthermore, based on agreeing viewpoints from philosophers, Dr. K states that fanatics are distinguished by three features. 1. A wholehearted, unwavering commitment. 2. A rigid, unbending certainty about these commitments. And 3. A willingness to impose cost on themselves and others to preserve or realize these commitments. Whatever sacred values a fanatic holds, they hold them as objective reality, and will go to great lengths to preserve them. So much so that they will use force on others who dare simply question their values, even if the fanatic is objectively wrong. The threat and danger to society arises when, as the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. For you see, fanaticism is contagious." With that said, what exactly causes fanatics to hate so much? Where does this detestation come from, and who specifically is it meant for? Dr. Ruth Rebecca Thiesjen, assistant professor at the Tilburg School of Humanities and Digital Sciences in the Netherlands, elaborates further into the hostility and fears of fanatics in Fear, Fanaticism, and Fragile Identities. Dr. T states their dissent includes out-group hostility, those who are not committed to the group's values, in-group hostility, members who fail to follow group thought, and self-hostility, one's own possible lack of commitment to their own cause. In their pursuit of preserving their sacred values, Dr. T notes, quote, "The fanatical group is willing to make use of unconventional means that violate the existing social, moral, political, or legal order. They are willing to sacrifice their own or others' well-being or lives." It's frightening. George Orwell's 1984 comes to mind. Other dystopian novels may come to your mind when describing a fanatic's hatred brought to the forefront of our society the way I feel is happening now, the way it has always been, it seems, throughout history. Since we have a general idea of how fanatics hate, what is it exactly that they fear? Dr. T posits that, aside from their fears of renegade members from each of the three groups we've discussed, they have a fourth fear in the form of their own, quote, "anxiety of and flight from the existential condition of uncertainty itself," end quote. Dr. T elaborates further by emphasizing it is an aversive uncertainty, that which is felt as unpleasant and threatening, that contributes to fanaticism by causing these people to search for certainty in their values and beliefs, rather than attempt to gain knowledge that contradicts their own reality. In other words, they're fragile. Dr. K elaborates by stating, quote, "Fanaticism thus combines dogmatic resistance with deep-seated fragility," end quote, and goes on to claim fragility in fanatics is characterized by three features. 1. Fragility of self. Treat a value as sacred to preserve identity. 2. Fragility of value. Threatened when not widely accepted. And 3. Group identity. Defined by shared commitment to a sacred value. Any form of counter-narratives that do not align with their values, whether it's from out-groups, in-groups, or themselves, the fanatic takes as a personal threat. So, for those of you who take information that does not meet your personal narrative of what reality is as a personal attack, I just have one question for you. Why? We've been around for thousands of years. History is abundant. Why do you seek to reinforce your own values by drowning yourselves in propaganda, especially when it's detrimental to everyone, including you? Throughout history, we've all taken inspiration from other cultures in some form or fashion, in the creations of our own. So why are you afraid to learn something new? There's nothing wrong with questioning the beliefs you've been hammered into growing up. The world is in ever flux. Things constantly change. Sometimes what we've been told in our upbringing is wrong. So we inform ourselves as we grow older to create a better tomorrow for ourselves and our loved ones. That's progress. With all that being said, what's so bad about fanaticism? This too is not wholly agreed upon by philosophers. Some argue it is neutral, others define it as a morally complex state that is not necessarily bad, and some say it can even be good. Dr. K asked this very question and gives a possible example of a good fanatic in John Brown, an abolitionist who killed many to abolish slavery. Dr. K writes, quote, "Fanaticism can promote or sustain good ideals, goals, or states of affairs, can gratify existential needs, social anxieties, and involves a resilient form of commitment, sometimes needed to achieve important goals." One such group that may currently be labeled as fanatics by the powers that be are protesters. Throughout our nation, we have protesters fighting against a government agency sent to impose the values they hold as reality for the greater good of everyone. Protesters are defending themselves from an quote-unquote oppressive regime to protect everyone's quote-unquote God-given constitutional rights, enemy and allies alike. Ultimately, Dr. K defines fanaticism as bad, arguing it is a vice and that, quote, fanaticism's badness lies not in the object, but in the person. So, what's the solution here? How do we change the minds of many who are set in their ways? Does such a solution even exist? We can start by questioning our own beliefs without hate or judgment. Let's explore and learn from different points of views to come up with solutions that benefit everyone. I think having an honest one-on-one conversation is a start. You can't change many minds at one time, but you might just change one. These are some things that come to mind, but I honestly don't know. What are your thoughts on fanaticism? Do you think there will ever come a point when we can all collectively do what's beneficial for humanity? Let me know your thoughts below. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe and take care.